This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.
Welcome to a very special episode of Paranormal Dads. I'm your co-host, Andy.
I'm Eddie.
I'm Pat.
Please join us as we go in search of the world's monsters, myths, and mysteries, right here on the Paranormal Power Slam 2019 special. All right, boys, this was a fun one, and it was kind of a while in the making. And like anything else you do out of fun with your buddies, it snowballed into a whole entity, you know, in and of itself.
Yeah.
Paranormal Power Slam 2019. Should we catch people up to speed on what this actually is first?
Let's fill some people in.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Well, we kind of piggybacked off a lot of basketball fans or sports fans out there get really into the brackets that you fill out for the March Madness, basketball tournament. And, the three of us put our heads together, which sometimes is dangerous.
I know, right? Talk about a paranormal being, like a three-headed paranormal dad.
That's right. And we just thought, wouldn't it be fun to imagine what would happen if some of these creatures and monsters that we talk about actually rumbled, and so then we thought about seeding, and we thought about brackets, and we thought about a tournament, and, what would happen if Bigfoot, fought a Chupacabra? What would happen if the Loch Ness monster, had to fight Lizardman, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And we threw these matchups out on Facebook, and we let our fans vote on it, and it just grew into a whole thing.
We had a good response too. A lot
man.
of people seemed really excited about this. We got some cool comments. And
People were sharing these things, and people making comments like every vote counts, and okay, settle down now, guys. This is Bigfoot fighting a garden gnome here. We're talking about, But it was super fun, and the fun thing is, I haven't seen anything like this either. So
no.
This is kind of I'm sure there's been derivatives or something like this, but this has been a fun little experiment to match up really unlikely creatures too. That's been the fun part.
Well, we had to pick the top 16, the cryptids, the top 16 most well-known creatures to give people a chance of maybe hearing about them before, but. It's just for fun.
Yeah.
I was hoping it wouldn't come off as violent or morbid. Somebody saying, "Why would Bigfoot ever want to hurt a Chupacabra?" or vice versa.
Why would he soccer punt a garden gnome? Why? Why?
So I don't know why any of these creatures would actually have beef with one another, but it's just fun. And in the first showdown, the first matchup, if you will, we had Bigfoot against a Chupacabra.
Paranormal Power Slam 2019. In our first matchup, straight from the Pacific Northwest, we have the king of the paranormal pack, the one and only Bigfoot. And the challenger, hailing from Puerto Rico and known throughout the Americas, the creature that treats sheep like his own personal Capri Sun juice box, the Chupacabra. First round.
So the first round, the voting came in like a solid 79% for Bigfoot and 21% for Chupacabra. I mean, it was not a close fight.
No.
This one. Yeah.
Well, Bigfoot's he's a heavy hitter.
You're right.
And he's going to do well in this event for sure.
And Chupacabra,
but Chupacabra's a well-known cryptid as well.
Yeah. No,
So I was kind of surprised it was such a landslide on that one.
Yeah.
I think Bigfoot has the experience on his side. Bigfoot sightings have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Chupacabra is a really young cryptid.
That's true.
His claim to fame was in the early 90s?
Something like that, yeah.
A creature kind of like, I don't know, it's a hodgepodge of different features and stuff, but basically the size of a large raccoon.
Yeah.
The goat sucker, as they're known to allegedly sink their fangs into livestock and drain them of blood, but he's a newer cryptid. He doesn't have the experience of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So I was kind of expecting Bigfoot to go through on this one.
Yeah.
He's a NCOTB, new cryptid on the block.
Hanging tough.
All I ever wanted was to drink your blood.
And this is one of those rounds. We actually had a write-in. Somebody
Yes.
wrote in, Sparky wrote in, I vote glow stick. Glow sticks.
This paranormal power slam just got crushed. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think Bigfoot, you got to know he's going to move on to the second
Yeah,
round.
he's definitely not going to get taken down in the first round.
I think he kind of phoned it in. When he showed up, he's like, "I'm already through. It's a formality.
I'm not going to tire myself out on this one.
Let me punch this Chupacabra and get it over with."
Exactly.
So it was a first round knockout, TKO.
Done. Yeah, crazy. On our second one, we had, what was it, the giant versus the gnome. This was a controversial one.
In match number 2 of Paranormal Power Slam 2019, we have big versus little. The monstrosity versus the minuscule. Does size really matter? You decide. Who would win in a squabble between a giant and a gnome? Both creatures have been reported in legend and lore for centuries. And now they come to battle.
The second matchup was kind of controversial in a way. I remember some people were like, what? Why would you put a garden gnome up against a giant?
But the results were even more shocking.
More shocking. And it was, once again, kind of maybe a little bit less of a landslide, but still pretty darn heavily weighted in the garden gnome's favor.
You got a garden gnome 71% versus the giant came in at 29%.
Yeah.
So
The
there was
gnome won this
the
one,
gnome
dude.
won.
This was the upset of the first round,
It
in
really
my opinion.
was.
the
Yep.
David and Goliath
David
right
and
there.
Goliath. I'm thinking the garden gnome just hopped up and crawled inside that giant's ear and just went to town on his balance.
He was a carnivorous earwig. He
Exactly.
wreaked havoc on his equilibrium.
Exactly. Giant just falls down.
He couldn't have been a smart giant.
No.
And when do you ever see just one gnome, though? There were probably multiple gnomes, and
Yeah.
they just brought him down.
He got ganged up.
Kind of like Gulliver's Travels, you know?
Exactly.
It's like that WWE tag match where you're supposed to go one at a time, but they both, you get hit with 2 chairs when
Yeah.
the referee has his back
Right.
turned.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, those gnomes ganged up.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, some goat man threw a can in the ring, and the referee turned around, and before he knew it, 50 garden gnomes jumped on a giant and, pulled his big toenail back like the hood of a VW bug, and he's like, ouch.
You have to admit, Eddie, you were excited about this one because you have a love for garden gnomes.
I do. And
Gnomes
now-
in general.
And gnomes in general, and now Pat is a welcome member.
Well,
of the,
yeah, Eddie's inspired me, and so I've gone off. It's well documented now on Facebook
Yes.
that I've gone off. I've acquired 2 different gnomes. One of them actually has Bigfoot carrying a few gnomes around with him, and there's one more I want to get.
Yes.
And it's a gnome. He's kind of like doing a yoga pose, kind
Yes.
of just sitting there with his legs crossed, his hands up, kind of doing the om.
He's so good. Is he
thing.
wearing the hat still, the pointy hat?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I told my wife I'd stop after that, but I got to get that one more.
And it's like a 2-foot statue, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not small.
yeah. They just go in the backyard and they're fun to go out and look at at
They're
night.
fun. You want a happy home? Add a gnome.
My niece was actually over at the house today, and she didn't like it at all. She's 2 years old, and she walks out back, and she kind of looked at it, studied it a little bit, and then she just decided, Uncle Pat, that's scary. I don't like that.
In that, I've seen 2 versions of that, where there's one, and it's actually not Bigfoot. It's like a Godzilla monster, and it's carrying off garden gnomes, and they're not having a good time. They're screaming. They're like, yeah. But this one,
This one's a little more
chill.
jovial. Yeah, he's kind of like giving one of them a piggyback ride, but the gnome is actually falling backwards. So
Yeah.
his legs are up on Bigfoot's shoulders, but he's falling backwards.
Yeah.
And then he's got a couple under his arms.
Yeah.
And they look happy. They
They're
look
having
like,
a good
oh,
time.
they're having a ride.
Right. It's Bigfoot days at the garden gnome village, but. Yeah, we love the garden gnomes. I love them, so I was happy to see the results come through. This was not tainted. We didn't vote in these, by the way. No, wait,
I did. I
just
totally
realized this
did.
is
I can
totally-
picture, if possible, Eddie would have been clicking like 1 million votes there.
No.
But you know what? I was kind of like, I was putting the jinx on whoever I voted for. It's like everybody I voted for lost.
Oh no.
Except for Bigfoot. I did vote for Bigfoot.
Well, you have to always vote for
Yeah.
Always bet on Bigfoot.
Is Rocky one of your favorite movies, Pat? Always going for the underdog?
Yeah, I was always going for the underdog. And
Well, in this case, the Garden Gnome was the underdog. I
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, totally pulled that one out. So there you go. In our next Paranormal Power Slam 2019, we have the ethereal versus the extraterrestrial. Come see who wins when we have ghosts fight an alien.
So in matchup number 3, we had Alien versus Ghost. This one was a tricky one. This one was a tricky one because you got ungodly technology.
Yes.
You know, technology with aliens possibly beyond anything we experience here on Earth. But then you have Ghost, which, how are you supposed to even hurt them if you can't even touch them?
Right.
I mean...
And this is one, I think the seedings were a little messed up. We didn't probably consider the seedings as much as we should have because you got two of the big ones right there, and they're going head to head in the first round.
Right out of the gate.
So, you know, one of them's going to lose.
Yeah.
But I was actually kind of, again, surprised at the Ghost ran away with it pretty good, didn't he? What was it? Well,
it was
63-37.
Yeah.
So this, again, wasn't a very close match.
Well, and like Andy said, like, you know, when the ghost just possesses your fist and makes you start hitting yourself. Like it's
Quit hitting yourself. Quit hitting yourself.
I mean, it's not even a contest at that point. But I agree. Technology above anything.
Yeah.
So it also makes me wonder, are our listeners more interested in the spirit world versus the thought of ETs, you know?
Yeah.
So
But, you know...
I personally, I've been kind of in a big UFO kick lately. I've been watching Project Blue Book on History Channel.
Yes.
And so I've been reading up on UFOs and stuff quite a bit. And so I was actually really surprised at this matchup, though.
When you're pretty jacked, you're pretty pumped up about the new season of Ancient Aliens that just came out, right, Eddie?
Ancient Aliens, Season 12.
Season 12.
Get on it.
Who would have ever thought that it'd make it 12 seasons?
Season 12!
But I don't know. So Ghost made it through to the next round, and I think it's fitting because, you know, our podcast is called Paranormal Dads, and most people, when you say paranormal, the very first thing they think of is ghosts.
That's
We
true.
just take it to the next level by incorporating mysterious places and monsters and urban myths and all that other stuff on top
It's
of
weird
it.
we're talking about it.
If it's weird, we're talking about it. Yep. So ghosts are through.
In our next round, known to inhabit the mountains of Asia, stands 6 feet tall, also known as the Abominable Snowman. Let it go for the Yeti. And from Fresno, California, appearing on multiple trail cams and can be found in Native American wood carvings, creeping their way into your hearts, it's Nightcrawler. So in the fourth match, we had Yeti versus Nightcrawler, and this one really wasn't much of a surprise either.
Yep.
Yeti runs away with it 69% to 31% from the Fresno Nightcrawler. The Fresno Nightcrawler, though, is really kind of a creepy video. If you've never seen it before, we kind of showed it when we were at Comic-Con.
Last year.
And it's just this very strange-looking being.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like its entire body are legs. It just looks like a pair of hammer pants, like Eddie says.
Possessed hammer pants with a head on top.
But,
but yeah.
So somebody, Ben, made the comment, obviously the Yeti wins. Nightcrawlers don't even exist. Duh. So Ben was down on the Nightcrawler, but yeah.
What's it going to do? Punch the Yeti? It doesn't have arms.
Exactly. It's all kicking. It's all crane kicks.
all
crane
all
kicks.
day. You see Karate Kid? That can end a match, though. Johnny knows.
If he's got a good roundhouse, he might be able to hang in there a little bit. But Yeti was able to pull this one out.
If it didn't scare the Yeti away, though, because if you just watch the video of those things walking around, it gives you the boogity-boogities instantly. Because it's just like just watching them move.
It's just
like,
so bizarre.
Like, yeah.
But I think as it happens in sports sometimes, weather and climate can affect the matchup a little bit. And I'm thinking that might have been a case here because Yeti hails from very cold regions.
That's true.
Nightcrawler hails from Fresno, California.
Right.
Fresno.
Yeah.
So, I don't know whose turf this was on, but if it was in California, I bet the Yeti just swept the leg, got the match over with quickly
And
before he
quick.
started sweating. You know what I mean?
Yeti is also used to fighting at altitude as
That's
well,
true.
and
He's
so
got
if
that-
they were up in the mountains, Nightcrawler didn't stand
Got
a
that
chance. with that
cardio
one.
game going. He's like, dude, I could do this all day.
I think Nightcrawler was just happy to be included in the top 16. It was his first time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the first time you qualify for the Olympics. I don't care if I win. I'm just happy to be.
Just happy to
That's
be here.
probably-
Give him a blue participation ribbon.
We need any of our artist listeners, please do a little small, quick sketch of a Fresno Nightcrawler just leaning into a mic saying, "I'm just happy to be here." That'd be so great.
Release the Kraken! For match number 5 of Paranormal Power Slam 2019, we have an aquatic showdown of epic proportions. Measuring roughly the size of a city bus, Megalodon could have eaten Jaws for breakfast. They're said to have gone extinct nearly 3 million years ago, but some wonder if these sharks still exist somewhere in the deep blue sea. Our other contender has haunted the dreams of sailors for generations, and legend suggests the Kraken, or giant squid, can sink ships with its gargantuan tentacles.
Okay, the next matchup, we have the Megalodon, which is insane, just a gigantic shark,
Right.
versus the Kraken. And once again, I mean, this is the one interesting thing about these matchups. We've had very few that were super close.
Yeah.
You know, this was still pretty heavily weighted towards the Kraken.
And this is one of those ones where I voted for Meg. I thought Meg would do a lot better in
Yeah.
this.
Well,
Yeah.
Kraken won 69 votes to 31, 69% to 31%. This one surprised me.
Yeah.
Megalodon, I mean, especially because the movie,
Yeah.
the Meg
Right.
just came out. I thought
Yeah.
people would ride that bus. Pun intended, because the shark's the size of a bus.
Yeah.
This one surprised me, but I don't know. Maybe Kraken's just too big, too many tentacles.
I mean, the Kraken's, like you said, the myth of the story is that this thing could pick up ships and break them in half. I mean, a ship is bigger than a bus.
Yeah, true.
And if the ship is no match for a Kraken size-wise. Now, granted, the Megalodon's going to be much more nimble, I think.
Yeah, I thought the
Now-
speed thing would be in the Meg's favor.
Wasn't there a Kraken in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies?
It was in
Or
one of-
one of the
third one. I
movies?
think it was
Yeah.
the third one.
was it?
And so I wonder if there are some of the
Yeah.
fans of that genre that were
Yes.
pulling for the Kraken to,
Oh, man.
to see him
I
come
don't
out
know.
on top.
Yeah. Or a Clash of the Titans. Because that's the Kraken's in there, too.
That's what I was thinking of, Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's huge. That's
It's
a huge
so
beast in
big.
that movie.
Yeah. But yeah.
I don't know. I figured the Megalodon would be snacking on calamari in that matchup, but I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
I liked your comment on here, Andy, where you said, would that be served with eel sauce or soy sauce?
Yeah, no, and once again, these proportions are insane that we're talking about. I mean, you know, but the Meg, like we know for a fact, was a real thing. There's no debate on that, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
found-
they've found teeth from
Yep.
these things.
I think they've even found partial skeletons. Like they actually existed, and the mouth of a megalodon shark was big enough that, I mean, you could walk and stand inside of one and not reach the top. I mean, some of these were like 8 feet wide.
Wow.
You know, but also the Kraken has actually been proved to be a real creature in recent years. I think somewhere off the coast of Japan, just a few years ago, they pulled one in.
Pulled one in off a fishing boat or something.
It was
wasn't
I think it was almost by accident that they got it, but it was insane. I don't want to.
the giant squid.
The giant squid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was, I don't know, what was it, 60-foot tentacles or something like that? It was massive.
They're insane.
Yeah.
The eye. I think they said the eye on it was bigger than a dinner platter.
Yeah.
Like, just the eyeball alone was as big as like a party.
Imagine pulling that thing up on the boat and having this big old eyeball staring at you.
That's when I just
that'd
pee
be
my
so
pants.
weird.
I just pee my pants and I die. I jump in the ocean. Take me, Poseidon.
In our next matchup, we have two heavyweight contenders. Champ, a.k.a. America's Loch Ness Monster, is said to inhabit Lake Champlain. Champ is allegedly a 20-foot serpent who has been spotted over 300 times dating back to 1609. His hobbies include swimming the breaststroke and listening to Queen's We Are the Champions. Our other contender hails from South Carolina. Standing 7 feet tall, with scaly skin and a mean disposition, we have Lizardman. His hobbies include terrorizing residents of Lee County and destroying public property. A string of sightings in the summer of 1988 propelled Lizardman into the paranormal spotlight, and he's been planning a comeback tour ever since. So in the next matchup, we had Champ, the Lake Champlain monster, against Lizardman. So both kind of aquatic creatures here. This was by far the closest showdown of the first round, and
And they'd go back and forth, too.
Yeah, it did go back and forth, didn't it?
Yeah.
As you watch the voting, it was we go 52-48, 48-52.
And in the end, Champ pulled
50,
through.
50.
Any amphibian's game in this one.
Champ pulled through with 52% of the vote, so they almost needed a recount there.
Yeah.
That's
You
true.
know? But
true.
Champ pulled through, beat Lizardman. I don't know. What's your thoughts on this, boys?
I mean, I think if you're talking about, like, once again, like you said, it depends on where it's at. I mean, Champ is a purely sea or water dwelling creature.
Yeah.
So Lizardman's got to go where Champ is. So Lizardman, it sounds like for the most part, might be semi-aquatic, but likes to kind of walk around on land, hence the man part.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking Lizardman has to jump in the water to go after Champ, and already is at a disadvantage. And probably size alone at this point. Like, where do I even start? Like, what do I punch on this thing?
And the Lizardman's probably used to more like boggy marshes and soggy, lagoons and creeks. He probably just, I bet he tried to cheat. He probably threw like a handful of mud at Champ trying to blind it or something.
These are two very regional, specific creatures too. You know, Champ obviously is in Lake Champlain. And Lizardman is known to be in South Carolina.
Yeah.
It's not like you have lizardmen running around the country. You
Right.
know, people, they're from a very specific geographic area. And so people who are familiar with those areas probably lean more towards one and the other.
That's true, too.
So, maybe, since we're in Nebraska, maybe more people are familiar with Michigan, then it's a Big Ten thing versus South Carolina.
Well, it's in his name too. He's the champ.
He's the champ.
The thing is too, Lizardman. He probably is only really good about fighting he's only good at fighting pickup trucks and cars.
Right.
I remember
He's known for chewing cars in half.
Yeah.
He's like, where's the headlights on this thing? It's Champ. It's not a car, Lizardman.
he needs
Where are the tires?
He needs a good dentist.
Exactly. But
So-
what a great close match.
It was a close one. Champ pulled through.
Coming up next, he's been known to cause supernatural events when he appears. From Point Pleasant, West Virginia, look up in the sky. It's the Mothman. And the contender, he's spry. He's a flying biped with hooves, known to emit high-pitched, blood-curdling screams. The legendary creature from southern New Jersey, Jersey Devil. Okay, getting down towards the end here, the first round, we've got Mothman versus the Jersey Devil. So, this is one, I think I voted, what did I go? I think I went Mothman on this one.
I did too. I'm just telling you, being honest. But I also, like you just said, Andy, like you hinted at, if I had witnessed this fight in real life,
Yeah.
I'd run back to church right away.
I think these are the two scariest cryptids
Yes.
of the first round. Mothman, bat-like creature, terrorized Point Pleasant, West Virginia back in the day, and Jersey Devil doesn't move quite as fast, but that's, a couple episodes back we talked about Jersey Devil. That's a creepy creature.
Yeah.
I mean,
The ability to walk over roofs and leave,
Yeah.
and leave footprints in the snow.
steaming footprints.
Yeah.
Bat wings on that thing too.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I don't know. But on the other hand, you almost think of Jersey Devil, he's like the cryptid equivalent of a duck-billed platypus. Like he's spare parts stitched together.
Exactly.
The head of a horse, wings of a bat, the hooves of a donkey.
Hooves.
The claws
Yeah.
of a T-Rex. He has short little arms.
He's a trail mix. I'm picturing him going in the fight like, please kill me, please just kill me. But,
Mothman took care of business because he did
Mothman
get beat.
Obliged, because he got stomped on this one. So
Yeah,
68 to 32.
Yep, 68% of the votes for Mothman. I'm not sure if I was entirely surprised by this. It's kind of interesting to see how the votes would go, but
Especially with the recent movies and TV shows and stuff, you hear a lot more about Mothman than you do the Jersey Devil.
And you said specifically, this is super regional. So if
Yeah.
we had gone to New Jersey and held
Yeah.
this poll,
Yeah.
it would have been the other way around.
If we were talking to a lot of hockey fans,
Oh,
That's right.
we would have gotten beaten up for even mentioning Mothman. Like, how does he work? Oh, no.
Mothman, go back to West Virginia.
Exactly. Oh, man.
Our next match is a surf and turf showdown. In the black corner, we have the Werewolf. He's kind of like your pet Pomeranian, except that he's 7 feet tall and doesn't pee on the couch while you're gone at work. And in the blue corner, we have a contender known as the Loch Ness Monster. Nessie is a perennial powerhouse when it comes to mysterious beasts, and she's already been spotted several times in 2019. Ow! Cookie Crisp.
I thought that was going to be an actual...
No, this
The
next
Loch Ness-
matchup was Werewolf versus Loch Ness Monster.
This reminds me of what I did yesterday at the Minicon. Someone had done a custom little art print for me of a little cute cartoon version of Teen Wolf, one of my favorite 80s
Michael J. Fox.
movies. So anyway, sorry.
Dude could dunk a basketball.
I know, right? And his high school mascot were the Beavers. It was just so silly.
That was awesome.
Anyway.
Well, in this matchup, the Werewolf went through 69 to 31. So, pretty solid win there. And were you guys surprised at this one?
I was surprised at this one, not so much because the werewolf is not a ferocious. I'm so tired.
Voracious?
Ferocious killing machine, but more like he would have to fight the Loch Ness Monster in the water. Again, kind of like the whole Champ versus Lizardman thing. So I was thinking like, a wet dog trying to fight a gigantic, prehistoric creature. How's that going to play out?
So the werewolf got wet, smelled terrible.
Yeah.
Loch Ness Monster rolled over and gave up.
Probably put it in a big chokehold.
Yeah.
Chokehold.
There you go.
He's got that big neck, and so you
Big
can
neck.
just wrap around that and just hang on for
Work
dear
it all
life.
day long.
Kind of Princess Leia on Jabba the Hutt kind of a thing.
Exactly. Just start yanking the chain.
But, it's interesting. This one was a pretty big runaway for the werewolf.
Yeah.
It was 69 to 31?
Yep.
And Loch Ness Monster, that's a big name
It's a
right
big
there.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a favorite sink, quite literally here. I bet Twilight fans are happy, though. The werewolf went through.
Right?
It's all fun and games, though, but as we've discussed and as we've heard, firsthand accounts, there are some legit werewolf sightings around the country, like no joke.
Yeah.
6 foot tall, on 2 feet, pointed ears, snout, teeth, claws, the whole 9 yards. So
From people who have nothing to gain from this
No.
and have
Right.
a lot to lose, frankly.
And one of the interesting things is one of the hottest states for sightings is nearby in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
A lot of
that's
werewolf
supposed to be
sightings.
one of the biggest
I think it's number
places.
one.
Yeah, where they have werewolf sightings. So I think we've talked about that before. We kind of make Packer jokes and say, well, they had too much to drink on game days, but that's pretty creepy. That
I do
they do have a lot of livestock and things like that, cows and whatnot up in Wisconsin. So
Maybe werewolves
they're feeding off 'em.
they're a connoisseur of cheeses, fine cheeses.
yeah, and good beer.
Yeah.
right.
I do wonder, though, like as far as like the archetypes of these two creatures. I mean, Loch Ness, the story goes back a long time, right? I mean, this is not just a modern myth.
1600s, maybe?
Yeah,
something
and,
like that.
And how long have werewolves been in the human epoch? Like how long?
It's
longer.
got to be quite a while as well.
Yeah.
They've been in the movies forever.
Yeah,
You know.
But I mean, even like old European folk tales involved like big bad wolves that weren't just
Yeah.
like wolves. There was something extra about them.
Yeah.
You know, so I just two very old, crusty, ancient myths going at it right now, killing each other on our podcast.
They're veterans. They've been around for a while.
They're battle hardened.
Yeah, they'd be the team captain if this were a team sport. But
Yeah.
Loch Ness Monster sank. Werewolf goes through to the next round, and we'll get paired up with a Mothman as the brackets are falling.
Slam dunk for the werewolves.
Last round, the gnome pulled through with a major upset, defeating the giant. Can he do it again this round against Bigfoot? Who would win in a battle of these two creatures? Would the cunning agility of a gnome be enough to defeat the size and strength of a squatch?
So now we're in the next level of our bracket now, right?
This is round 2.
Round 2.
And then there were 8.
Second round action.
And then there were 8. We get the matchup, the highly unlikely matchup, probably just as unlikely as the Giants versus the Gnomes.
Yeah.
Now we have the heavy hitter Bigfoot versus the Garden Gnomes. And, possibly the same strategy didn't work this time around for these guys.
And as a self-described Bigfoot aficionado,
Yes.
such as myself,
Yes.
I was a little worried going into this.
Yeah.
I thought, because I saw what the Gnomes did to the Giants, and I'm like, oh man, I hope Bigfoot makes it through.
Poor Gnomes can't catch a break. Everyone they're fighting is like 10 times as big as them.
I know, right? They got a lot working against them here. And see, you are doubly conflicted because you're a Bigfoot fan for years, but you're also a newly
you've turned me on to gnomes.
You're a gnome
so,
boy,
yeah.
as I call them now.
Not a homeboy, but
Not a homeboy, a gnome boy. And but yeah, I mean, 61% for Bigfoot to 39% Garden Gnomes, and they probably just tried the same strategy that worked on the Giant. I mean, it makes sense if you're doing it, but Bigfoot a little more crafty than what they planned on.
Yeah, maybe he did his homework for this one. And
I mean, you have the statue that proves it. He's walking around carrying them under his arms like a
Right.
couple of watermelons. He's like,
So Bigfoot got 2 wins in a row.
Easily.
And easily, again,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
advanced to the
Coast
next
right
round.
through.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well, that one kind of, I wouldn't say it surprised me, but, after the Gnomes defeated the Giants, I was kind of rooting for the underdog. You got the Rocky story. You got to, root for the small country in the Olympics kind of feeling, and it just didn't happen for him this time.
couldn't pull it through.
They had big dreams inside of a little body, and, but they'll be back if we ever do this tournament again, no doubt.
Bigfoot's a
You betcha.
regular gnome wrecker. As the Paranormal Power Slam continues, we have one of the most bonkers face-offs in all of recorded history. A showdown that you'll only see on Paranormal Dads. We have a ghost squaring up against the Yeti. This was a close one, too.
Another close one. The
Yeah,
Ghost
comment, too.
versus the Yeti. So, 2 very big players in the paranormal world.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who I voted for. I think I went Ghost on this one.
Once
But,
again,
how are you going to punch a ghost?
you can't punch a ghost,
But one's kind of
Yetis.
translucent-ish white, and one's white and furry.
right?
And they can scratch you.
Yeah. Which is off-putting.
Yeah. But, so Yeti goes down in a very close match. 45% Yeti, 55% Ghost. The Ghost moves on to face Bigfoot in the next round. But this is another one, we were talking about the seedings, and, I think the Ghost probably should have been in a different bracket, kind of separated. And I'm thinking I'd like to see Ghost Sasquatch towards the end, because those are probably the 2 biggest players we have in this competition,
Right.
I think.
Right.
And
But I thought Alien would do well, and Alien went out in the very first
yeah,
round.
this is true too.
But I do wonder because Yeti, I mean, he was no slouch in this matchup. I mean, 45% for him.
He did. I mean, you say that, and I am kind of surprised he did as well as he did.
I'm wondering if, he's an ancient creature as well. I wonder if he's learned a little bit of basic kind of shaman magic, and he was able to channel the ghost into like a physical object, like a doll, and just start beating it up, like slamming it on a rock. Take that, doll. Worked against him, though.
Well, I'm thinking the Yeti probably had to travel a long ways to get here for this matchup. Maybe it was just homesick and wanted to get back up to Nepal. And
Through the match, you're saying. It's like, I want to go home.
I'm just
You know,
done.
depending on where the haunted house it was where this match took place, it could have been too warm for the Yeti. So.
Could have been
True.
too warm.
Ghost probably prepped the playing field a little bit. Loosened up some boards.
Picture Mickey Mouse going into that haunted house, and it's full of 100 different ghosts. And
Oh yeah, those Mickey Mouse. Ah, this place is scary.
So I don't know. Yeti goes down. Kind of broke my heart. But
Yeah.
he kind of got cousins in here, so he has to feel good for his cousin Bigfoot, who
Yeah.
at least made it through to the next round.
Right.
Bigfoot's got that pressure now. Like, man, I got to perform for
so
my
now
homeboy.
Ghost's got to go up against Bigfoot
Yes.
in the coming rounds.
So I mean,
that would
almost
be a
like
great showdown.
the same creature 2 times in a row. Ghost beats Yeti. We'll see if Ghost can beat Bigfoot next round. So
We'll see.
got a big white furry creature, and next he has a big brown furry creature. So
Yep, and one smells real bad.
Since the 18th century, Kraken have caused their slithery mischief off the coast of Norway and Greenland, terrorizing seafaring fishermen, merchants, and pirates. Today, the Kraken challenges Champ, the Lake Champlain monster, for sea superiority. There have been over 300 sightings of Champy over the years, and the creature is a tourism benefactor for the communities situated aside Lake Champlain in New York and Vermont.
Well, as Pat aptly put it, in our final aquatic throwdown here, we got Kraken versus Champ. And I really feel like this is the classic situation. This reminds me of a little true to life, little Paranormal Dads taking real life and applying it to this exact situation. It's almost perfect. My mother-in-law we have a little dog. She's about the size of like a half of a loaf of bread. Her name is Cody. So there you go. So Cody is going for a walk with my mother-in-law. You guys know the story, do you already?
I don't know this one.
This happened like about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. She's taking the dog for a walk, and with my youngest daughter, by the way. So I got an 11-year-old girl with my mother-in-law, who's like almost 70, and our dog, tiny little dog. They go down our 4 doors down neighbor's house, and out of nowhere, from their garage, comes bounding a German Shepherd. And he literally clamps down on Cody.
What? Oh, no.
Picks her up and does the like shake on the dog, like the death shake on Cody. I didn't tell you guys.
No, I did not hear this.
Man, I'm sorry, guys. This is hey, breaking. Does the death shake on Cody? My mother-in-law's freaking out. Gwen is like, ah!
Oh no!
And so the German Shepherd, puts Cody down. Cody's like in this frozen like state of like,
shock.
She looks like a taxidermied badger.
Exactly. The dog goes for a second round, just like, oh no, I'm going to give her the shake again. Goes down, and at that point, they had kind of like hit the dog with sticks or got it to leave the Cody alone. And then the neighbor comes out, what's going on here? And we're like, yeah. And good news, Cody's fine. She's shaken up.
Should have started with that, man.
Obviously.
You just took me on an emotional roller coaster.
Oh my god!
Cody's fine.
Me and Andy are going to be like shaking the rest of this episode.
Yeah. Cody's good. She had one mild puncture wound. We had it taken care of. The neighbor took care of all the stuff for her. So everything was fine.
Good.
But my point is, what I was getting at was Cody is the breed of dog she is a very docile, non-aggressive
very
type dog. Delicate dog. And it's a German Shepherd, which we use as guard dogs. And so the matchup with Kraken versus Champ reminds me very much of the visual of seeing a German Shepherd go after my tiny little white little toy dog.
And this match wasn't even close.
No. Kraken just took one smack at Champ. Just a kapow!
93-7.
Yeah,
I
think this was probably the biggest spread we had throughout the entire competition.
It was
so
massive.
By far.
The Kraken didn't even play around. He didn't come to play games.
Yeah. This was a first round knockout, that's for sure.
You think Champ got too cocky after that win over Lizardman?
Well,
I think Champ felt pretty good. He kind of exactly.
He swam in with a little bit of a swagger in his fins, and
he's like, "I'm Champ.
It's
Who's the champ?
like
Me. I'm the
this
champ."
was kind of like Apollo Creed versus the Russian guy in Rocky IV.
Exactly.
And he's dancing around before the match starts. He's got the goofy hat. And living in America. James Brown singing out in the crowd.
That's Champ all day.
The Russian comes in and just lays him out.
Kadoosh! 7-93.
Oh, wow.
We had one comment here, which was a gift by our good friend Aaron of the Kraken, doing to this ship what he probably did to Champ.
Actually, 2 ships. It's picking up 2 ships.
Well, no, it's turning one ship
into 2.
That's probably what he did to Champ.
So the Kraken is through 2 wins in a row, and the Kraken will be paired up with the winner of the Mothman versus Werewolf, which is next.
Which leads us
And
to the
that's
next
what
one.
we'll cover next.
As we creep closer to the end of Paranormal Power Slam 2019, we bring in 2 nocturnal ne'er-do-wells that'll knock your knees and give you nightmares. The otherworldly messenger of bad news, the Mothman, versus the lycanthrope who removes all hope, the Werewolf.
So the final match in the second round, we've got a couple of middleweights here, Mothman and the Werewolf.
I mean, yeah, that's a good matchup.
And it was a good matchup.
Yeah.
We got 42% Mothman, 58% Werewolf. I guess I'm not surprised Werewolf won this one.
Yeah.
But this would be a very interesting match to watch.
It would be.
You know, put a movie together, Mothman versus the werewolf.
Dude.
That
Comes
would be
down,
cool.
scoops him up, flies him up in the air. Werewolf is just slashing at him the whole time. I don't care.
The
drop me.
werewolf's trying to keep things terrestrial, keep it down on the ground,
Yep.
and Mothman's fluttering about. That'd be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it'd be a good match.
But Werewolf went through.
Werewolf has been. He hasn't really been challenged. I mean, they've been close-ish, right? But like, he's a powerhouse.
Do you think he was a stinker and went over to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and just kicked over the Mothman statue just for good measure after this victory?
After he won, threw it into the river,
Took a selfie with it first.
Walked
and then
over to
chucked
the
it in river.
statue, lifted his leg. And
peed on it like a dog. Oh man, I mean, yeah, that he would do a move like that. The werewolf
yeah, he would.
kind of rubs it in your face at the end.
It's like, what? He looked like a fire hydrant. Hey.
What? It's right here.
You guys ever see American Werewolf in London?
Is it Paris? Paris? Or is that a
That was a
different-
sequel.
That was a sequel.
That was a
Okay.
sequel.
Oh, yeah.
No, I never saw
Yeah,
either one of
this was like early 80s.
Early 80s.
That movie came out. And
Yeah.
That is kind of, his transformation is pretty creepy.
Did you know that it was regarded as one of the most like intense, like graphic transformation scenes? In
I believe
cinema
it.
for
I
the
was
longest
I
time?
was probably 11 or 12 when I saw it. Our neighbors had one of the first VCRs. Actually, it was a laser disc, I think, on the block, and they had American Werewolf in London, and so I watched that, and I'm like, whoa!
It probably cost $3,000 back then.
It
didn't
probably did.
That's a kind of it's like a horror comedy in a weird way, and so like for a kid that age, because I saw it.
Because I think it was rated R. It might have been.
No, it's hard. It's a very hard.
But
R.
yeah, it's very graphic, and his hands become paws, and they like stretch out, and you see it.
The paws burst out of his
hair
hands.
growing out of his hands, and
Like
it's
his mouth,
a
you see
creepy
it.
movie.
And it's all physical effects because it's the '80s. There
Yeah.
was no digital effects back then.
Yeah.
It was all puppetry and makeup. And
This is one I should go check out Amazon Prime or Netflix. I would imagine that movie's probably out there. You
Oh,
could go
I'm
watch
certain
again,
of it.
but-
I'm with you. I saw it at a far too young age. I was probably not when it was new, but not too long. I was probably like 8 or 9. This is where HBO is the portal into like things. Andy thumbs up.
Yeah.
And that to this day, that transformation. I think he's in like a hostel. He's like an American on tour. He's in like a hotel or like a hostel area, and he just turns into this werewolf. And whoo boy, yeah, werewolves. Making their mark.
All right, so
literally.
this one, the werewolf does move on, and he's going to be facing the Kraken. That should be an interesting throwdown.
The Mothman did not prophesize this one.
So we have 4 left. We're down to the semifinals, and we haven't yet thrown these out on Facebook yet for people to vote on them yet, but we will soon. And the first matchup is going to be Bigfoot versus the Ghost. What are you guys projecting? What are you predicting? What are
This
the
is a
pros?
tough
What are the
one.
cons?
This is another one where, I'm kind of pulling for Bigfoot, but I could see him having a problem getting past the ghosts.
I mean, so this is where it's been like they both have handled their competition fairly straightforward. My gut says Bigfoot pulls through. I'm betting you Bigfoot pulls through on this one.
Yeah, I'm thinking he will too.
I think it'll be close.
I'm not sure how. I mean, what is he going to do? Get one of those traps from Egon, or whatever from the Ghostbusters?
Exactly.
He's going to suck the ghost. So I know Sasquatch is smart. He's going to have to be really smart, to take down the ghost.
I'm just picturing Bigfoot in a Ghostbusters uniform. That
Well,
would be
you're not far
awesome.
off. In the original Ghostbusters, the very first Ghostbusters, there was an actual monkey,
Right.
a gorilla
Yeah,
on their
you're
not
right.
monkey. I'm sorry, a great ape. Sorry, no one kill me.
Yeah.
A gorilla on their team. So I'm thinking that the original Ghostbusters saw this match happen, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to go give our fellow, ape man a helping hand here and give him some tech that might help him out."
Bingo. Well, the thing about ghosts is sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can't. So I can figure wherever this showdown takes place, maybe Bigfoot steps in the proverbial ring, looks around and goes, "Hey, was he too chicken to show?" And then the ghost shows up, pow, right in the mouth, right in the kisser.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I'm excited to see how this shakes out.
I think it's going to be close though.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to be
No.
any more than 60-40 in either direction.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a ghost camp and a Bigfoot camp, and they're going to have to go at each other. we'll see who comes out on top.
I like that.
And then in the other semifinal, it's going to be Kraken versus Werewolf. Ooh. Kraken's coming off an enormous win.
Pretty powerful.
His ego's going to be high. His tentacles are going to be limber.
Yep.
He'll have a nice rest period before this showdown takes place. And Werewolf, though, I'm kind of secretly hoping that in the final it's Bigfoot versus Werewolf. I mean, size-wise, strength-wise, they're pretty comparable adversaries.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
And they both pretty much kind of dwell in the same areas.
Their
Although
ecosystem
Werewolf, a lot of the times you hear they come into the city from time to time, but
not Bigfoot too, I guess, for that matter, right? Depending on the city, right? Like,
maybe Seattle.
Yeah,
or Portland.
Near large forested areas. But I mean, the Kraken, and to counter, the Kraken has handled his competition kind of handily. I mean, there's not been a lot of so
Yeah, he has had not a close match the whole way through. He's just sailed right through. So we'll see. Maybe he's got a secret camp that just thinks that he's going to walk away with it.
Well, I think for the Werewolf, it's going to be all about training and fitness and dietary decisions because a lot of the werewolf sightings is in Wisconsin. Can he avoid cheese leading up to the big fight?
Yeah.
Or is he going to put on a couple pounds?
Everywhere you look.
Is he going to be constipated?
True.
You got to factor these things in.
Yeah. You can't have any dairy issues going into a match with a creature like Bigfoot or a ghost, whoever comes out of that match.
So we'll see what happens. We'll throw those up on Facebook for people to vote on soon, and we'll do a follow-up episode to talk about this and
talk about the winners.
I mean, then we'll have the winners, and then at that point we decide, who the final match is. Correct? Is that how we're doing this?
I don't know. I think we. I think we're going to vote it all the way through.
Vote it all the way through.
I think that'd be kind of a chump move to do.
That would be a chump move.
We've had a lot of people reaching out to us about this and playing along. I think we gotta let the public come up with a winner.
Paranormal public.
But the three of us will be on there voting just like all of you.
We will be.
So every vote counts. Get out there and vote. Do your duty. And I'm excited. This was fun. No matter who the winner is, it was fun, and we'll have to do this again sometime, maybe with haunted locations or something like that.
Ooh, locales.
Have people vote on what the best haunted locations are. But
you can do a lot with that. Area 51, Loch Ness. Pacific Northwest,
Stonehenge,
haunted houses,
some desert locales that are like known for portals, and Antarctica,
Bermuda Triangle.
That might win the whole thing.
See, so much more to go with this.
But this is good. A lot of good monsters here. We initially thought about making the pool 32.
Oh,
but then you get into then you're really reaching, and you might pull out
really digging deep.
Some monsters people might not have heard of. But,
the Babadook versus
the Mongolian death worm, which is actually allegedly a real thing.
Really? There you go.
Didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
There's preliminary qualification rounds.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mongolian death worm, just
Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to know when to make your list be done.
Well, this was fun. So stay tuned for part 2 of this show, and as always, feel free to contact us if you have suggestions or questions, and you can get a hold of us through Gmail, paranormaldads@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. And as always, big thanks to freesound.org for providing some of the music and sound effects that went along with this episode. And gosh, this is fun, guys.
Super fun. If you're hankering for a Paranormal Dads t-shirt, or heck, it's summertime now, tank tops. If you would like one, Andy's rocking his right now.
I just sold 2 sweatshirts.
Pat sold 2 of them. If you'd like yours, please message us on our Facebook page. Let us know what size and style you'd like, and we'll be more than happy to let you know how much that costs and get it to you. Are we pausing this?
That's okay. We can pause it.
Pat's at work right now.
Pat's working because he's on call.
Professional Pat. Let's not.
Do you think he's going to tell him about Mothman?
I bet you he doesn't mention Mothman one bit. But I bet you he does mention Loch Ness. He's logging in right now.
Do you think his password is Sasquatch?
His password is Squatchy Paranormal Dads. Rules forever.
With a Z?
With a Z.
I feel like we're golf commentators right now.
And then he's like, today we're going to learn how to make plutonium out of regular household objects.
Can we watch that together sometime?
We need to watch it.